Hello everybody, I'm Krishna. If you haven't watched my earlier videos, I will leave a link in the description. I encourage you to watch it. In this video, we will look at what happens within a sprint. The duration of a sprint is between 1 to 4 weeks. So you would pick up a cadence that suits your team and continue with the same cadence throughout the end of the Scrum project. Now, referring to the previous video, we had identified the PBIs that would go into this sprint. We had identified all the tasks under each of the PBI. We had done an effort estimation and looked at the capacity within the team. Now all these PBIs are placed in a Kanban board. The Kanban board could be a physical whiteboard with swim lines, or it could be a tool that you're using. The Kanban board has swim lines which differentiates the different states of the PBI. The different states could be as simple as open, in progress and close, or you may want to make the swim lines a little more elaborate, where you have open, in progress, invalidation, bug fix and closed. The decision is up to you based on your need. The Kanban board provides visibility to everyone. If anyone would like to know what is the status of the PBIs, all they would need to do is stand in front of the Kanban board and they would see the list of all the PBIs for this sprint and in which state they are. So on the first day, I would go to the Kanban board and I would pick up one PBI and move it from open to in progress. Now this PBI could be done by me alone, or it could be along with a partner. Once I move it to in progress, which indicates that's the PBI that I'm going to work, I go to the stand-up meeting. A stand-up meeting or a daily Scrum meeting is a meeting that happens every day at the same time at the same place with the entire team. The intention of this meeting is to appraise everyone on what I am doing and to know what other people are doing. So typically the format of the stand-up meeting is such that I tell people what I did yesterday, what I am planning to do today, and whether I am facing any blocks. We do not go into the details of trying to solve what the blocks are. That is taken separately in a separate discussion with the required people. So after the stand-up meeting, I would go and start designing for the product backlog item which I have picked up. Post that, I would get into the coding phase and then I would verify. And then I may get a new idea of a better design and I may go back to design and again I may code and again I may verify. So in Scrum, the design, coding and verification phases would be overlapping. The overlapping of the design, coding and verification could be a stark differentiation between the traditional iteration development and the iterations within the Scrum. In the traditional iteration development, typically you may be following a waterfall model within an iteration. So you finish your design, you finish your coding, you do a verification and then you move to the next iteration. Whereas within the sprint, you have all these phases overlapping. So once I'm done for the day, I will have to do a re-estimation of the PBI that I am working on. If I've completed that PBI, then I would update the remaining effort to be 0 in the tracker. Suppose I have not completed the PBI, then I would do a re-estimation and put in the tracker as to how much more remaining effort is required to complete the PBI. For example, let us assume that I had estimated the PBI to be completed in 16 hours. At the end of the day, I have consumed 8 hours, but I feel that I need an additional 16 hours to complete the PBI. So in the tracker, I would be entering the remaining effort to complete this PBI to be 16 hours. Therefore, you should note that the emphasis is not on how much effort that I have spent on a PBI, rather it is on how much more effort is required to complete the PBI. The next morning, I would come and look at the burn down chart. The burn down chart provides a visual representation of the remaining hours required to complete all the PBIs. On the horizontal axis we have the days and on the vertical axis we have the number of hours. So during the beginning of the sprint, we would look at the total remaining effort required for the project and we would assume that this would be burned down linearly and we would draw an ideal curve. Post that, from day 1, we start plotting the remaining effort required on a daily basis. Ideally, the remaining effort should keep going down as we progress during the sprint. However, if we see that the remaining effort is increasing on a continuous basis, it is a cause of alarm. This could indicate that we may not be able to finish all the committed PBI within that sprint. So in such a case, we would investigate and see whether a corrective action can be taken. Towards the end of the sprint, we would have a backlog refinement meeting. In the backlog refinement meeting, the team would pick up the top backlog items from the release backlog and start refining them. These backlog items are not the backlog items which are being implemented in the current sprint. These backlog items are the backlog items that could be picked up in the subsequent sprint. The backlog refinement meeting helps the team in understanding what are the requirements that they would need to implement in the subsequent sprint. Around 5 to 10% of the current sprint effort should be allocated for backlog refinement. Once the backlog refinement meeting is over, the team will go back to working on the PBIs for the current sprint. So if you are working on a 3-week sprint, the team will be ready to release all the PBIs that have been implemented and verified. Because the sprint is time boxed, those PBIs which are not yet complete will be moved to the release backlog. So that's pretty much all about what happens within the sprint. In the next video, we shall look at how to do a sprint review and a sprint retrospection. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you found this video informative, please like it and share it. If you have any feedback or queries, please leave them in the comment section. Thank you very much.